Hello there my lovelies, this is Chris from TechSpert and I'm here with the new Realme 5 budget-friendly smartphone. I've been wanting to test this out for a while, ever since it was launched over in Body Spain a couple of months ago. It should be one of the best budget blowers of the year, certainly if the Realme 3 Pro is anything to go by, which I absolutely adored. Going to get it fully unboxed, set up and take you on a full tour of the hardware and features. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. Now you can grab the Realme 5 right now from the Realme website. It will cost you €169. Not a bad price at all, considering something pretty awesome specs. You get 5,000 mAh battery in there, the same as the Moto G7 Power. Snapdragon 665, the same as the Moto G8 Plus, the Oppo A9 2020, quite a few other budget-friendly smartphones that cost a little bit more than this Realme 5. Dare to leap is the tagline. Not great advice if you're at the edge of a cliff, but apart from that, okay. And of course, there is the phone itself, and you also get a handy little transparent bumper included with the Realme 5 as well, which is a great little bonus. So I'll just add a little bit of extra protection to the smartphone. And also bundled in there is a charger and a Type-C cable. At least I hope it's Type-C. No, it's micro USB. Nudges. Honestly, why is micro USB even still a thing as we're about to hit 2020? That's just depressing. Anywho, there is the Realme 5 in all of its shiny glory. Now, I really like the design of the Realme phones, despite the fact that they're budget efforts, kind of like Honor, they do put a little bit of effort into the actual design. So you have that nice S-curve on the Realme 3 Pro. Here you've got a very funky sort of like crystal shard almost style design. Quite acute angles and everything, very cool indeed. You can pick it up in either blue or purple. This is quite clearly the blue version. Looks very slick indeed. Quite a decent heft to it as well. About 198 grams, I believe it was. So yeah, definitely compared with a lot of other budget phones, it's on the upper end of the weight scale. Let's just quickly slap on the old bumper as well, just to see what it looks like with that wrapped around it. And yes, it is a prophylactic bumper, as I like to call it, because yeah, basically just look like you're wrapping it in a super extra thick bonus safety condom. So yes, it does detract somewhat from the overall sexiness of the Realme 5. That blue colour isn't quite as pronounced, quite as bold with the case slapped on, but you can still make out that funky design at least. And you know what, if you are paranoid about your shiny new Realme 5 getting scuffed up or scratched or anything like that, that'll do the job. And the back end of the Realme 5 is just constructed from polycarbonate, so it probably will scratch up if you're not too careful with it. At least the front end though, you do get a nice bit of Gorilla Glass 3 Plus, so hopefully that will help prevent any scratching and scuffing right there on the display, which as you can see there is already coated in fingerprints. Yummy. The rest of the design is pretty straightforward stuff. You do get a rear mounted fingerprint sensor, which is great to see, power button, your volume rockers. You do get a 3.5mm headphone jack as well, which is awesome to see these days. Micro USB, hiss. And of course a whopper of a camera as well. 4 lenses slapped there on a back. So kind of similar to the arrangement on the Oppo A9 2020. We'll be taking an in-depth look at that later on in the video, so don't bugger off anywhere. Now it's time to stuff my SIM card inside, and then I will get it all set up and take you on a tour of the rest of the phone. So let's see what we've got. So we've got a double SIM slot and a separate micro SD memory slot as well. So you've got a choice of between 32 to 128 gigs of storage here on the Realme 5, and you can add a further 256 gigs of storage via that micro SD slot, which is great stuff. And apparently the Realme 5 is splash resistant as well, although the details are a little bit hazy on the website. It doesn't have an official IP rating or anything, so it would be a little bit tentative in the whole area of getting it moist. Just see if we can power this bad boy up. And it's worth pointing out as well, you get a pre-installed screen protector here on the Realme 5 as well, which you can just about make out there. So that'll add an extra bit of protection on top of that Gorilla Glass 3. Alright, so set up the Wi-Fi and everything. Now it's time to set up the fingerprint sensor and the face unlock. Got a 13 megapixel front facing camera, which is used for the face unlock. It's just a simple 2D unlock, of course, not full on 3D or anything like that. And as you can see there, you've got a raise to turn on screen effort as well. And there we have it all set up. And as you can see there, it is, of course, like other Realme devices, a ColorOS phone, ColorOS 6 being the latest version, although I believe this is just 6.0, sat on top of Android Pie. So the previous version of Android, again, not the latest version, Android 10, but hopefully that update will be coming soon. Dear Realme user, I've been waiting for you. Heart. Very intriguing. Don't know what that's all about. On the app market, let's just ignore that. Now I know that ColorOS elicits quite a Marmite response from people. Some people absolutely love it, some people hate it. I don't mind it at all. I think it's a perfectly fine overlay. Add some nice little bonus features in there on top of Android, and you've got all the usual stuff that you would expect from Android, like an actual apps tray. You get the Smart Assistant, of course, which is basically another version of Oxygen OS's shelf feature, stuff like that. It's basically just a page of widgets which you can add to and take away from as well if there's anything in there you don't particularly want. You do unfortunately get a fair bit of crapware pre-installed, of course, which you can just mostly uninstall. So yeah, you've got the usual hot apps, hot games, all this kind of shenanigans. Just get rid of it and just ignore it is my personal recommendation. My personal favorite is definitely the Game Center. Joy at your fingertips for now. We do actually get the pretty handy game space feature, which basically just helps to give you games a little bit of a performance boost, which is always handy on a budget blower like this. It gives you a bunch of other tools as well, notifications management and stuff like that. And ColorOS is quite highly customizable as well, and you've got the likes of the swipe gestures from Android 10 as well, so little bits like that, which mean you won't miss it quite so much. Let's take a closer look at some of the hardware, and right here on the Realme 5 you get a 6.5 inch display, almost full view as you can see there, just a tiny little nipple notch poking in on the left side when you're holding it. It's a 720p panel, sadly, not a 1080p, as you don't get those full HD visuals, but to be honest, the 720p visuals looking pretty crisp here, just in a little bit of YouTube action, and the colours seem absolutely fine. Brightness stuff, definitely on top, brightness seems to be doing the job as well. So yeah, I'd say I'd be absolutely fine for just enjoying a bit of Netflix, bit of YouTube, whatever you want on the go. And it's a mono speaker setup down here on the bottom.
We're trying to prevent World War III.
So no, it probably won't win any awards for being super powered or anything like that, but it'll absolutely do in a pinch. And you know what, you got that headphone jack, so you can connect a pair of wired headphones or a bit of Bluetooth 5 support for your wireless. And as I mentioned before, it's a Snapdragon 665 chipset backed by either 3 or 4 gigs RAM, depending on which model you go for. This is the 4 giga. I've seen a few little sort of stutters and stumbles here and there, but that's pretty common for a smartphone that's still busy setting itself up. Touch wood, it'll run all right. The Moto G7 Plus certainly, with the stock version of Android, ran absolutely fine. The Oppo A9 2020 didn't have any issues with that either. So fingers crossed here on this ColorOS 6 handset that 665 will provide good performance. And then of course there is the whopper of a battery, 5,000 milliamp hours, so that's on par with the likes of the Moto G7 Power, one of my favourite budget smartphones of 2019. I'll tell you what, if this thing could get 3 days of battery life like that can, and I reckon it probably will, then that'll be job done. So nice being able to go away for a weekend and not having to worry about packing that charger. Also, we'll be fully reviewing the Realme 5, so definitely stay tuned for my in-depth thoughts on that, hopefully coming in about a week's time. And so we come to that absolute beast of a quad lens rear camera here on the back of the Realme 5, and of course more lenses doesn't necessarily mean better photo quality by any stretch of the imagination, but the Realme 3 Pro definitely impressed for its optics. I'm hoping for a similar sort of result at the very least here on the Realme. You get 12 megapixel primary lens, it's an f1.8, that's backed by an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, giving you a very different view of the world. That's a 119 degree angle lens, I believe it is. And they got 2 basic final lenses, a 2 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel macro shooter as well, which just help you to get those really nice up close shots, capture lots of finer detail. So let's give it a quick old tour using our pink unicorn subject, looking very jazzy there, Mr. Unicorn. As you can see, pretty feature dense camera UI as usual from a ColorOS smartphone. You can take some shots. You've got your HDR mode up top on full auto. This is how you select the ultra wide angle lens, just a quick tap of this icon up here. Not the most accessible of options, and unfortunately you can't simply select it by pinching when you're in the normal modes either. And if you tap this little bad boy down here, you flick between the different forms of digital zoom. I believe it goes all the way up to 10, certainly does. All right, there is an up close unicorn nostril, lovely stuff. You've also got a portrait mode, of course, making full use of that depth sensor in order to help provide a nice bit of accurate edge detection. I will of course be fully testing that out as well for my in-depth review. And then you can swap to video mode, like so, and shoot up to 4K resolution videos. You can swap resolutions nice and simply just by tapping this little icon up here. And you've got a selection of bonus modes which you can access by tapping here, including a good old nightscape mode for those low light shots, of course, and a good bit of time lapse and slow-mo. If you tap expert, that basically opens up the professional mode, allows you to play around with the likes of the white balance, the autofocus, to get a very precise kind of shot. And at any point you can quickly and easily swap to that 13 megapixel selfie camera for a bit of a glam Instagram shot, or not so much in my case. I apologise for looking like a hobo. I haven't left the house today pretty much, so I've just thrown on whatever. Not your typical YouTuber, I apologise. And there you have it. That in a nutshell is the Realme 5. Definitely so far looking like a pretty snazzy budget blower. As I say, starting from €169, rising to a little bit more if you want that extra bit of memory and storage. So I'll be definitely giving it a full-on test, and I'll be using it as my personal handset. My SIM is already stuffed inside, so stay tuned for an in-depth review of that. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If there's anything specific you want me to test out, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. And please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you!